Welcome back to the channel, guys. Hope you guys are doing good. It's been a minute since we've seen each other face to face. I've done a bunch of no-face videos for the last couple of, I don't know, the last few videos we've done, I guess. But in this video, I want to ask you guys a question. Are you guys mythology nerds? Because I am. I love mythology. Ancient Egyptian, ancient African mythology, Norse mythology, Asian mythology, Greek mythology, Roman mythology, name it, I love them all. Like, I love mythology. So actually, I was actually going to make a YouTube channel about mythology and then, coding. I thought this would be better. I digress like I always do. But in this video, we're going to be creating an application that's going to be using GPT-4o, so OpenAI's GPT-4o, to get data for us and render it on our screen. But it's not going to be just that simple. This is going to be pretty robust, semi-robust, if you can say. So what we're going to be doing is, think about it. If every single person uses this application and wants to get a new character, for example, there's hundreds and thousands of mythological characters out there. So no one knows every single one of them, right? But I mean, ChatGPT will probably do. But if we're going to do that, we can't keep calling the API for every single character. So if, let's say, 100 people create 100 people use our application and want to create and want to know about Zeus, and we type in Zeus into our search bar, we don't want we don't want our application to basically call that API 100 times. API calls are expensive. So what do? We use a loophole. We think, well, if someone's going to call Zeus, right, we get that data from OpenAI. However, we have a database system set up using PostgreSQL as well as Supabase to store our data. So what we're going to be doing, and Prisma ORM, lest I forget. So we're going to be using Prisma ORM to access our database, and our database is going to be using PostgreSQL, which is going to be saved within Supabase. So that's the order of things. I digress once more. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to have a database system set up with Supabase. When we call on a character, so when we search a character like Zeus up, what we want to do is we want to check our database first to see if we have that character Zeus within our database. If we do not, then we're going to be using OpenAI to get the data from to get that data for Zeus. So to get the character data, we're also going to be using DALL-E 3, which I believe is owned by OpenAI too. Which is also owned by OpenAI. So DALL-E 3 is DALL-E 3 is owned by OpenAI. So we're going to be using that to get the images for the characters. Now, just a disclaimer, some of these images are weird looking in terms of, like, they are good images, but they are, I don't know. You'll see when you create the applications. They're great images, but they could be better, is what I'm trying to say. So don't fault me on the image you get. That is OpenAI and DALL-E 3. So now, once again, I digress. So now, when we get that data from OpenAI and we get the image, what we're going to do is we're going to save that character to our database automatically. So now if 100 people search for Zeus, it's just going to pull it straight out of the database. We don't need to call that API again. We're just going to connect to our database and pull that information. So if 100 people also search for Hera, we're also going to check our database to see if we have Hera in there. If we don't, then we're going to search it with OpenAI and we're going to render the data and save that data into our database. And now we can call Hera as many times as you want because it's just in our database. It doesn't matter. So we're going to do that. So that's how our backend is going to be set up. And in our front end, we're going to be using Shadcn, we're going to be using Tailwind CSS, and we're going to be using Material UI to style our front end. It's a very minimalistic approach to building this application. It's very responsive. So on any screen, it is responsive. I love this application. I am also a huge mythology nerd, so I hope you guys enjoy it too. This is a great intermediate to advanced application that you can use for a portfolio project, or you could just use to have so your friends can interact with different mythology characters if they're also mythology nerds like I am. So with that said, I'm also on a road to 500 subscribers, guys. So if you guys wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, hitting that like button, it will mean so much to me. We're almost there, guys. We're almost at 500. But with all that said, let's jump into the demo. So here we are in the demo. And like I said earlier, this is just a simple application. We're not doing much to it. It's a simple Shadcn Tailwind CSS for the styling. And here, let's say we want to look up Zeus. So actually, before we even show you this, this is going to be the database setup. So as you can see right now, we have this database attached to it. This is via Prisma, ORM, PostgreSQL, and the database is being held with Supabase. So here, as you can see, we have nothing within our we have nothing within our database. So there's nothing saved within our database. So what we want to do now is we have to think, how are we going to get such a diverse amount of data fetched at all time, because we don't want to expand. We don't want to expand our API call. So we don't want, because that gets expensive. So you don't want to keep calling the API, because we're going to be using OpenAI to get our data. So the brilliant thing about this is, let's say we want to search up Zeus. So if we say Zeus, and we search that, as you can see, it's searching. So what it's searching for is going to search within the database to see if we have anything that says Zeus. If we do not, it's going to grab the data from OpenAI. So it's going to be using GPT-4o to grab the data, and it's going to be using DALL-E 3 to create an image. So we're just going to give this a second. And as you can see, both the image and the data has been rendered. So if we come here, we can scroll in and we can read more about Zeus, and we can scroll back up, and here it says Zeus. We have light and dark themes here, so we can go back to light and we can see it this way, or we can go back to system, which is dark for me, and this is all great, and this is via Shadcn. Now if we go back to that database, as you can see now, if we go ahead and refresh this, you can see now we have one data within the database, and that's because now we have Zeus within our database. We have now saved Zeus within our database. So our database system is pretty much it's robust. It's going to be robust because we're going to be saving data without the need of actually typing in data or using an external API, such as like a Mythology API call or anything. This is just our own generated data that we're using OpenAI to create. So now the great thing about it is, if we close out of this and we say Zeus now, look at how fast this takes us. So if we say Zeus now, it's going to take us a couple of seconds, but not as long as it took us to get it the first time. And that is because Zeus is now saved within our database. So rather than it search, as you can see, so rather than it search for Zeus all over again, it's going to give us the Zeus within the database. So if we go back to the database and we refresh it, as you can see, we have just one data within the database, and that's going to be Zeus. And we're checking that via this rows. It still says 1. So if we come back here now, the reason this imagery changed is because we have a logic set up in our backend that gets the data, that gets the URL for the image from DALL-E 3, but that URL does expire. So we have a logic within our database that says run through that that URL, see if that URL is expired. If it's expired, get us a new image. That's why the image changes. So even with that change, it's going to save that new image URL within our database. We can bypass that via by way of AWS S3 by saving the actual imagery, but that's just going to make this way too robust. I just wanted a simple application that touches on multiple things that Next.js can do. So here we're going to be looking at API calls. We're going to be saving to databases. We're going to be using Tailwind CSS as well as Shadcn to create the styling. So this is great. It's also very responsive. So if we come over here and we go to a mobile simulator and we go to activate the mobile view, as you can see, if we search Zeus one more time, so we say Zeus, and we search that. So let's go ahead and search that. This is on a mobile. This is on a mobile view. It's a mobile simulator. So let's see what we get now. So the only reason it takes a little longer than it's supposed to, even though it's fetching from the database, is because of that imagery. So the image is going to change again. There we go. So it's because it's calling for a new image because that image has been rendered. So it's a hybrid system. So that way it checks to see if the database URL is expired for imagery, and if it's expired, then we get a new image rather than it just calling new images all the time. So because that's going to get expensive. So here, if we scroll down, as you can see, this is responsive. So let's see on another view. So if we come over to let's try the iPhone 14 Plus. Now if we search Zeus again and we search for this, let's see how this looks. So let's move over here. So now it's searching again, and this is all, like I said, it's all responsive. And as you can see on even on this view, it's still responsive. You can scroll up, you can scroll down, and there it goes. It fits the whole screen. If you go to let's try a tablet. So if you go over to Galaxy Tab S7, we try Zeus one more time, and we are going to change the character of who we're going to keep trying, change the character that we're trying. We just want to use Zeus for right now because that is saved in the database. So once again, it's probably going to use another image because that does expire pretty quickly. So as you can see, it does show the data. It does render the data. It does render the data pretty accurately and responsively. So if we go back now and we search for another character, so let's try an African character. So let's use Egyptian mythology. So let's say Ra. So if we go for Ra, we search that. It's going to take some time because now it's going to get that data from OpenAI, save that data within our database, and then extract that data and show it on our screen and render it on our screen. Are there ways to make this a bit faster via caching and things like that? Perhaps, but this, like I said, is simply just a minimalist way to create a robust, semi-robust, I guess you could say, a semi-robust application. And by semi-robust, I mean it has multiple backend functionalities within it, but it's not so extreme that we have like recommendations and ability to save and things like that. That's what I would call a robust architectural system, where you can save and get recommendations. Here, the backend does a lot in such a small application. So that's what I mean by semi-robust. So here, as you can see, it says Ra. It shows you who Ra is, blah, blah. And there's also ways to check against false data, meaning if you put in a string that's not a mythological character, it's not going to give you some random data. It's going to tell you there's no such thing as that character. So if we just say, let's think of a weird name. So if we just say, let's just say character. So if we say character and we search that, I don't believe there's any mythological character named character, so it should send an error, and that error is going to be portrayed on the screen saying there's no such thing as that character. So let's see. There we go. So as you can see, it says character. The term character is a placeholder and does not refer to any specific mythological figure. So in mythology, many characters are known for their unique stories, blah, blah, blah. So it says if you have any specific mythological character in mind, please provide their name and I can offer detailed information about them, full stop. So that's pretty much it. So that's how this application works. With the imagery, you don't really have much control of the image that it shows you because it's using DALL-E 3, an AI system to portray to render the images. So whatever you get is what you kind of get. If you know of any other better AI image software or application that I can use, just let me know in the comment section. But for right now, we have DALL-E 3 because we do use OpenAI to render our data. If we come back to mythology here, as you can see, if we come back to our database here, you can see we have 3 characters now. So we can just go ahead and close that. So this is pretty much what the application entails. Once you close out of this, as you can see, it's closed. So if you guys do want more from this, more features added to this, just let me know in the comment section, and we can work on maybe adding recommendations, making this more robust. Basically, we can add AI recommendations to it, most searched. Most searched characters, things like that we can add. But for right now, we're just going to be using a simple minimalistic application. But I enjoy Mythology a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let's get right into it. All right, guys, so we have our IDE set up here. So what we're going to do is create our folder. So we're going to say make directory. So make directory, and this is going to be called Mythology YouTube. Let's say Myth Project YouTube. Cool. We can clear out of that, and then we can cd into, let's clear out of this. We can cd into Myth Project YouTube. There we go. And let's go ahead and use npx create next app, and we're going to be using app 14. So this is going to be Next.js 14, and then we're just going to enter that. So this is going to be called Mythology YouTube. No, we're not using TypeScript. No, we're not using ESLint. No, yes, we're using Tailwind. Yes, we're using SRC. Yes, we're using App Router. No, and we just wait till that installs. So while we do that, we're going to go over to Supabase. So let's open this up, and let's wait for that to open up. And we're going to go over to Supabase, and I already have a Supabase account. I already went over how to create all this in a previous video. I'm going to link that in the description. So what I'm going to say is start your project. And for this project, we're going to have a new project under my organization. Project name is going to be, let's call this Mythology, or let's say Myth Project. So let's call it the same thing, Myth Project YouTube. Let's just generate a password, and let's create new project. Awesome. So we're just going to wait for that to create. We don't need to save that because we're going to be changing it later on. So we have that. Let's also open up Shadcn while that's going on. So Shadcn UI. So we're going to go over to the installation part. We're going to be using Next.js. We're going to initialize it. So npm. Let's come over here. So this is done already. Let's go ahead and clear out of this. Now we can cd into Mythology YouTube, clear out of that, and paste that in there. So that's the, so we're going to be using New York style. This is going to be Zinc. Yes. And let's make this, let's bring this up a bit and view. Let's make this a little bigger. So let's zoom in. Awesome. Let's see if we can zoom in one more. Okay, now we can bring this down, and we can clear this out. Cool. So we have that initialized. Let's see. Now we can add button. So let's just go ahead and say npm here. We're going to install that. So while that's installing, let's go ahead and clear this out. So what we want to do now is let's go over to theming, or not theming, dark mode. So we want dark mode, and we're going to install next themes. So npm, and we're just going to install that. Let's clear out of that. Let's see. We also want the drop down, I believe. So let's get drop down menu. Yeah, so we're going to be using this. So let's go ahead and copy that npm and paste this in there. Awesome. So let's clear out of that. So for right now, if we let's open up that folder. So let's go ahead and open up Myth Project. So we open this up. As you can see, if we go to sources, components, or UI, we have button and drop down. So that's what we need. So we're good with this. So let's close out of that, and we can open up terminal again. So now we don't really need much of these anymore. So let's see, do we need anything here? No, we could just close out of this. We don't need much of that anymore. So here we can now go ahead and let's come over here, and we're going to say npx prisma init. Oh, just clear out of that. So let's make sure, there we go. So we have to CD into Mythology YouTube. So let's clear out of this, and then let's run that command again. npx prisma init, yes, download that. And we already went over how to initialize Prisma ORM, so you can go ahead and look at that in my previous videos. So now we have Prisma here, and as you can see, we have this. We also have our .env here. So let's just make sure within get ignore we have .env. So here, let's go ahead and put .env. Let's save that, and then let's close out of that. So within our .env, we're just gonna take this out, save it. Let's bring this down, and we're going to call this direct URL. So now we can go over to what's it called? We can go over to Prisma, schema.prisma. We can come down here one, and we're just going to call this direct URL, and this is going to be env direct. So let's try that again. So it should autofill. So env direct, there we go, direct URL. So just like that, we're done with that portion. So now let's connect our databases. So we go over to Chrome. Let's go to connect here. This is transaction. It ends in 6543/Postgres. So we're going to copy that, and that's going to be our database URL. So we're going to pop that in there. And then for our direct URL, that's going to be session mode. And we're just going to copy that. We know because this ends in 5432/Postgres. And then we're just going to post that in here. So right now, this is all we need. So for your password here, we're going to come down here, and we're going to close out of this. Let's go over to settings, project settings, and then we're going to go to configuration of database. We're going to scroll down here to database password. We're going to reset the database password. We're just going to hit generate a password. We're going to copy this, and we're going to reset the password. So there we go, successfully updated database password. Let's close out of that. And for the most part, we're done. So let's just close out of Chrome. Awesome. So our password's going to go in there. So I'm not going to post that in there right now because you can clearly see it. It's a important credential, so you don't want to expose your password to your database. But I'm going to do that. I'm going to post that in off screen. So one thing we do need to do is we need to adjust this Postgres. So if we come over to, let's come over to, actually, let's just close out of this. So if we come, that's fine. Let's just do that. So if we go over to Google and we say Prisma Next.js best practices, I believe that's what it is. And we click on this. There we go. Is it best practices? Let's see. Let's say Prisma best practices. No. So basically what we want to do is, it's been explained in my previous videos, we want to append something to database URL that's going to make sure we're not calling on that database at every single turn when we initialize our project or when we render data. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to go into my older projects. I'm just going to copy and paste that in. So I'm going to see you guys once I do that. So if we come over to database URL, we go over here and we just control V, command V. It's going to be question mark PG bouncer is equal to true and connection underscore limit is equal to 1. And we're just going to go ahead and save that. So that's what we just appended to it. So if you go to my previous video where it talks about initializing our Prisma application, it's going to expound more on that. So for the most part, this is it. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this. And then actually, before we go ahead and save this, what we want to do is let's go over to OpenAI. So let's Google OpenAI. And we're going to go into OpenAI. And then here, you want to go into API documentation. So when you go into OpenAI, you want to get an AI code generated for you, so you can use the AI. So if you go over to Quick Start, it's going to tell you to create an API key in the dashboard here. If you read through this file closely, it's going to explain how to go about setting up an OpenAI API key and what you can and can't do with it. So you can go ahead and read through that. I also have a video explaining how to do that in my catalog, so you guys can, I'll try and remember and put it in the description, but you guys can go ahead and search for that. So we need this API key because we're going to be using it both for the DALL-E 3, for images, and for rendering data from OpenAI. So we just need this. So I already have one. I can't show you what my key is because, you know, credentials, that's just not smart. So I'm going to let you guys do that. And then when you do, you're going to come over, let's close out of this. Let's close out of OpenAI, and we can quit Chrome. So you guys can come over here and you can just call this like Open AI key. And it's going to be the same process, and then you're just going to paste that key within the quotation marks here. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my .env environment, and I'll see you guys on the next part. Okay, so now that we have that, we have our .env pretty much set up already. So let's go ahead and say npm run dev. Let's see if we have any errors here. So we can go ahead and just open this up. Awesome. So as you can see, our Next.js application is open. So what we want to do is you just want to clear out some things here. So we can go over to, where is app? Oh, source. So then we can go over to app, and we just, for global CSS, we don't need any of this. So we just delete all that. Then layout, we can take out this part, this class name for body. Awesome. And we're just going to say the title of this is mythology application YouTube. And then description is mythology app for YouTube project. There we go. And that's it. So here we can take out, we don't really need to take out anything else. We could just leave it as such. And then we can close out of this as well. And now if we go over to page.js, we can just take everything from main all the way down to main or footer. So basically the same thing. We're just taking all this out, and we can take out the class name here because we don't really need it as much. Awesome. And then we can close out of this. So if we go over to Chrome, as you can see, we have nothing there, but we can test it to see if this works. We can just say hello world, and there we go. We have hello world right there. So this works perfectly. So we have basically initialized our project, so it's ready to work now. So we have everything set up in .env. We have our database connected. So let's see, what else do we need? We have, let's go ahead and install Material UI just to get that out the way. So Material UI installation, and then we'll just copy this and close out of that. And here, let's just paste this in there. And let's see. Cool. We're also going to be using Axios. So let's say npm install Axios. That's awesome. Clear. And then npm run dev. All right. So let's go ahead and open this up. See if this is running. Yep, no errors, so we're good. So last thing we want to do is within our Mythology YouTube, we want to set up a new folder, and this is going to be called library. So we're going to be importing in something called database. So new file, it's going to be database.ts, and we already went through this in the previous video, but basically if you go to Google, Next.js, Prisma, best practices, and it should be the first one. There we go. And if you scroll down here, you should see this db.ts. So actually, I realized in my last video with the YouTube, with the initializing in my last video initializing Prisma or connecting Prisma ORM with your database, I failed to put this part in there, so this is a great addition. So here we want to add this database.ts. So here it tells you why we're doing this. It says the solution in this case is instantiate a single instance and save it on a global disk object. And it tells you why you need to do this up here. So above here, it actually tells you why you need to do this. So it says in development, the command next.dev clears Node.js cache on run. This in turn initializes a new Prisma client instance each time due to hot reloading. That creates a connection to the database. This can quickly exhaust the database connection as each Prisma client instance holds its own connection pool. So basically, we don't want the database to reconnect every time the application runs. So what we're going to do is we're simply just going to copy this. We can close out of this now. And here in Visual Studio, we're just going to paste this in here and save it. So import Prisma client. So we don't have Prisma client. So let's come down here to Google Chrome. Let's go over to Google and connect Next.js Prisma ORM. So let's see if actually, so the AI over here works. So we just got to install Prisma. So we're just going to copy this and close out of that. And now we're going to paste this in here. And there we go. So now we've actually installed Prisma and at Prisma/client. So here, there's no error anymore. So we can go ahead and close out of this. npm run dev. Cool. So we can close out of this, and we can close out of page 2 as well. So that was the part I failed to place in the YouTube video where we connect to our database. So if you guys are watching this, that's actually a pretty important part. Reason I actually failed to put that in there is because we didn't build a project. I just showed you how to connect it. So this is important when building an application out. So unless you're gonna have some problems with the application. So we're done pretty much initializing everything. So now we can go over to our first step. So here we want to initialize our application. Well, we want to create our API route. So what we want to do is we want to come over to app and we want to create a new folder. And this folder is going to be called API. And within API, we're going to have a new file, and this file is going to be called character. So we're going to say character, and well, let's rename this. Actually, it's not going to be it's going to be let's see, it's going to be a folder, not a file. So this is going to be character.js. This is going to be character. Okay, so we got to delete this. So let's delete this one, and let's remove it from trash. Awesome. So now we can go to API and new folder, and this is going to be character, and we're going to create that route. So this is going to be route.js. Awesome. So now we're in our route here. So what we're doing here is basically, in layman terms, we're just generating our API route. This is where this is the brain center. You can say this is the control center. Basically, we want to be able to get data from OpenAI. Well, let's start over. So we want to check our database to see if we have any data within our database. If we have any data within our database that's being queried, so let's say Zeus, for example, if someone's searching for Zeus, we're going to check our database to see if that Zeus exists. If Zeus does not exist within our database, then we're going to tell that we're going to have that search query OpenAI, which is basically just ChatGPT. So we're going to query that, and we're going to get the information from DALL-E 3 for the images, as well as OpenAI for the actual description and the data. So when we get that, we're going to then save it within our database to make sure that we have it always in our database. And then we're going to send that information to our front end for it to be populated, so, or to be rendered in the front end. So that's what we're doing in this. So before we even start, let's go over to our Prisma schema here. Let's just quickly create a schema so that way we don't run into any problems. So let's create a schema here, and our schema is going to look as thus. So here our schema is going to be model, and we're going to have character. So model, character, awesome. And here we're going to say ID is going to be a string, and it's going to be at ID at default, and this is going to be UUID. Then we're going to have name. So this is the name of the character. It's going to be a string. It's going to be unique. And then we're going to have description of that character. This is going to be string. And then we're going to have image URL. This is going to be string as well. So you guys can have as many as you guys can have as many items within your model as you guys want. This to me is just a minimalistic application, so we just have this, so you guys can expound on it, you can shorten it, whatever you guys want. So we're just going with this because this is what I have. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and just save it, and then we can go ahead and just close out of it. So after doing that, now we can come into our route and build out the back end. So the first thing we're going to be doing is importing our Prisma. So we're going to say import Prisma, and we're getting it from that library database. So, and then we're going to import Axios. So we're going to say import Axios. That's pretty much it. And then globally, we want to be able to use our const API key. So this is going to be API key is equal to process.env.openai key, because that's what I saved it as in my .env. So we can come down here, and then now we want to say const image, well, const is image URL URL valid. So what this is doing is, so we're going to say, actually, let me just finish typing this out and then we'll explain it. So we're going to take that URL, and here we're going to say try catch, and then within try, we're going to say await axios.head, and here we're going to take in URL, and then we're going to return true, and then for catch, we're going to say return false if there's an error. So basically what this is doing is we're creating a helper function, and all it's doing is it's validating if an image URL is still valid. So when you create, when you get data from DALL-E 3, what it's doing is it's just sending you an image URL string. So let's say we search for Poseidon, and the DALL-E 3 sends you an image URL. That image URL is only good for so long, so it does expire. So rather than having to always just get a new URL at all times, sometimes that URL that we got might still be valid. So we don't just want to say, we know it's going to expire, let's just get a new one. So what we're doing is we're going to check to see if that URL is still valid. So if it's still valid, we'll just send you that same URL and use that same image. But if that URL is no longer valid, then we're going to say, all right, it's returning a false because it's no longer valid. Now we can query DALL-E 3 to get you a new image URL. So that's what it's doing. So in axios.head URL, what we're doing is we're just sending a head request to check the URL. That's all it's doing. So now we can actually get into the actual nitty gritty. So here we're going to say export async function. This is going to be post. We're going to take in the request. And here we're going to state try catch. So within try here, we're going to extract the search term from the request body. So we're going to say const search is equal to await request.json. So this is the request that's coming in from the front end. So this is what we're requesting for. So we're sending that search in the front end, and we're basically that search in the front end is what we're awaiting the request of. So we're taking that search and we're going to work with that search. So we're going to say if there's no search or there's no type of search, and it doesn't equal string. So if basically we type in a bunch of numbers and it's not a string. So if the search is not a string, then it's going to return next response. There we go. So what do we have here? Oh, we failed to close this. There we go. So next response .json, and here we're gonna say error invalid search term. Awesome. And we're gonna have a status of 400 because it's a front end error. Let's see. There we go. So now, if there is no error, so if we do have a search and it is a string, then we want to say check the database for the character. So we're going to come down here and we're going to state const character is equal to await prisma dot character dot find unique. Remember, we saved it, we store it as unique within the database. So we're going to say where, so we're querying the database now. We're going to say where name is search dot to lowercase. There we go. And that's it. We're all done with that. So if we do have that character, so if character, then we want to validate that the existing image URL is still valid. So we want to validate the existing image URL. So we want to say const is valid URL is equal to await is image URL valid. So we're calling that helper function, and we're going to say character dot image URL. Actually, is it dot image URL? What did we save it as? I think we saved it as image URL, right? Let's go back to Prisma here. Yeah, image URL. So image URL. There we go. So image URL. Now we want to say if that is valid. So if it's valid, so if valid URL, then we want to return the character if the URL is still valid. So we're going to say return next response dot JSON, and this is going to be character, and this is going to be character dot image URL. So what do we do here? So return next response dot JSON character. Oh, and then the status here is going to be 200. Awesome. If not, then we want to state if the image URL is invalid, then we want to regenerate the image. So we're going to say console.log image URL expired regenerating. Awesome. And here, so now we can state const image prompt is equal to, and we're just going to have that search there. So awesome. And what this is doing is it's just, so we're going to say, actually, that's not the whole thing. So we're going to say search mythological character. And we want to rendered in a grand, realistic, aesthetic, let's wrap it, fashion. Awesome. So here we're now going to say the image prompt is the search that we have. So let's say we search for Poseidon, and then we're going to say Poseidon, a mythological character rendered in a grand, realistic, aesthetic fashion. So this is us regenerating that image. So now we're gonna invoke that DALI, the DALI 3. So we can go ahead and come over here, and for this we're gonna say const DALI response is equal to await axios.post, and we're gonna use HTTPS, and this is going to be api.openai.com, and this is going to be /v1/images/generations with an S. So you can get this from the OpenAI's quick start, or like the documentation. So it'll tell you what this. So you can either use the link or the SDK. So I just prefer to use the link, but you guys can use the SDK if you want to. It's going to be in the OpenAI's documentation. So this is the link, and then we're going to say prompt. Our prompt is going to be that image prompt that we created. So image prompt, n, which is number, we just want 1. Size is going to be, let's say 1024 by 1024. You guys can read the documentation and see what which one suits you the best. And then headers here is headers. This is pretty standard. We're just going to say authorization, and we have a bearer token. So bearer is going to be API key here. Awesome. And then we're going to have content type. And our content type here is going to be application/JSON. Awesome. So with that, we're all set with that. So now we can go over to, let's see, what do we need to do here? We can come here, and we can say const new image URL is equal to DALI response.data, and we're taking the first one it's going to be a 0.URL. Let's make optional chain in here .URL. Cool. So we can now state if there is no new image URL. So if there's no new image URL, then we want to return next response.json stating that we have an error. So error failed to generate a valid image for the character. Awesome. And then we want to give it a status of 400. Cool. So after doing so, now we want to update our database. So we're going to say const updated character is equal to await prisma.character.update. And we want to update with where, and this is going to be name is now going to be search dot to lowercase. Awesome. And we want to state status, so to lowercase, and then we want to say data, not status. So data is going to be image URL, and that's going to be new image URL. Awesome. So now we want to return that. So we're going to say, let's do this, and then we want to say return next response.json updated character with a status of 200. We can also just console log this updated character, just so we can see if there's an error. And now, after doing all that, now we want to be able to query our GPT. So basically our GPT 4.0. So we're going to say if we don't have our API key, then we want to throw an error. So throw new error, and this is going to be OpenAI API key. is missing. Awesome. But if we do have it, then we want to state, we want to be able to generate the description with our GPT. So we're going to say let AI response, and we're going to say let attempt equal 0 and max attempt, well, let max, well, we don't have to say let, const max attempts equal 4. So what is this doing? So what we're about to do, the logic we're about to create is going to state that if we get an error, let's say you search up Hera and there's an error with GPT. So let's say something happened and it just didn't get it the first time. You don't want to return an error saying, hey, there's no such thing as Hera, or there's an error in what you typed in. You want to have that, you want to have the AI attempt to do things, attempt to search that character at least 4 times. So a maximum of 4 times. So if it gets it on the first try, awesome. But it wants to at least try it 4 times if there's an error. So that way there's something that always comes back. So that's pretty much what we're doing. So if you look at the Marvel YouTube video I created, the Marvel application I created on YouTube, we did the same thing. So we did the exact same logic. So that's I kind of borrowed from that logic, and that's what we're using here. So now we can come down and say while, and this is going to be attempts is less than max attempts. Then we want to try catch, and within our try we're going to say const message, messages is equal to an array of objects, and here we're going to say the role is system. We're going to say content is going to be you are a helpful assistant providing detailed information about mythological creatures, well, characters, creatures, and so I'm just adding here. So mythological characters, creatures, and what would you call something like Jason and the Argonauts? Let's just say characters and creatures, not to make this video any longer. Characters and creatures. Mythological characters, creatures, and lores. There we go. There we go. Including their origin stories, cultural significance, and symbolic imagery. So this is the most important part. We want to say always respond in JSON format with the keys name, description. That's it. So we also want to say role here is going to be user. So this is us. And we're going to say content provide. So let's use backticks. Provide detailed information about the mythological character, mythological character named search. Awesome. the JSON object should include name, which is going to be the character's name, as well as the description, which is going to be a detailed description of the character's origin, major stories, and symbolic significance. Awesome. All right, let's do this. Cool. Now we can go ahead and state, let's come over here. Now we can go ahead and state const response is equal to await axios.post. And here we're going to use a link as well. So it's going to be https /api.openai.com version1/chat/completions. Completions. Why can't I spell completions? Comma, and here we're going to have model. So model, and our model here is going to be GPT-4o, so for Omni, I believe. And then this is going to be messages, and this is going to be messages, and this is going to be temperature, and it's going to be 0.7. Awesome. So after doing that, now we can state, so here we want the headers again. So headers, we're going to configure it as authorization. And here we're going to say bearer is API key. Content type is going to be application/JSON. Cool. So that's practically it. So we're all done. Now we just have to place in our response. So we're going to say AI response is equal to response.data.choices 0 .message.content.trim. Here we're going to say AI response is equal to AI response dot replace. So here we're going to use regular expressions or rejects, and then we're going to say backslash bunch of this, about 3 of these. Let's use backticks. So a bunch of this, so 3 backticks. We're going to say JSON, and then we're going to use this. We're going to use 3 backticks again, and we're going to say G, and there we go. Dot trim. Cool. Now we can say const character data is equal to JSON.parse, and we're just going to pass an AI response. So now we want to state if, so we want to give it a couple of checks. So we're going to say if character data dot name and character data dot description, and there's no character data to lowercase, well, dot description dot to lowercase, dot includes fictional, and let's just copy that again, paste that in there. This time it's going to be movie. Okay. We want to, there we go. We want to break the loop if a valid character data is found. So here we're going to say break. Awesome. So what this is doing, it's basically checking to make sure that whatever we search, so the name, the description, is a valid name and description. So for example, we don't want to search like sandals and have the AI looking for like giving us a made up mythological creature named Sandals. This is like checks to make sure that we're actually searching for a real mythological feature, a real mythological character or a lore or something like that. So now we can go over to our catch error. So let's go over, let's link that, and then let's go over to catch error. And then here we're going to say console.error attempt, and then we're going to give it the number of attempts. So we're going to say attempts plus 1, failed to fetch / parse AI response. Awesome. And then we're just going to pass in that error. So we're going to say comma error. So basically this is the error that it's going to give after we have expended all the attempts. So when we've exhausted all the attempts. So here, after doing so, now we can go ahead and just pass in attempts here. So attempts. Awesome. So let's see. Yep, attempts is fine. So we just pass in attempts here. So now we can state if there's no AI response, or attempts is equal to max attempts, so we've exhausted everything. Then we want to return next response.json, and this is going to be error failed to get valid AI response after multiple attempts. Status here is going to be 500. And then after doing so, we can now state const character data is equal to JSON.parse, and we want to parse in that AI response. So lastly, for our last step, we want to generate the image with DALL-E. So we're going to say const image prompt is equal to, we're just going to say search. There we go. A mythological character rendered in a grand, realistic, aesthetic fashion. Awesome. Now we want to state const DALL-E response is equal to await axios.post. And this is going to be that same link. So it's going to be https api.openai.com/v1/generations. And here we're going to use prompt, and this is going to be image prompt. We're going to state n is 1, so the number is 1. The size again is going to be 1024 by 1024. And then we're going to use the headers again. So headers is going to be authorization, which is going to be bearer. And this is going to be API key. And we're going to have content type. And content type is going to be application / JSON. Cool. So here we can just end this there. And now we can go ahead and state const image URL is equal to DALI response dot data. We're going to pick the first one actually. Dot URL. Let's do this optional chaining as well here. And then what we want to do now is we want to validate the DALI response. So we're going to say if there's no image URL, then we're going to return next response.json. And this is going to be error failed to generate a valid image for the character. Awesome. And we're going to have a status here of 400. Cool. So now, if there is an image URL, we want to save the character to the database. So we're going to say const saved character is equal to await prisma dot character dot create. So now we want to create it. And here the data is going to be name, and it's going to be character data dot name dot to lowercase. We're going to state description, and description is going to be character data dot description. We're going to state image URL, and that's going to be image URL. And now we want to return our newly created character. So we're going to say console.log saved character. And we want to return that as well. So return next response.json and saved character, and status here is going to be 200. So actually, we don't even need to return it here. I mean, we don't need to console log it here. So we don't need to console log updated character. It's just going to be a waste. So let's come back down here. Where is it? There we go. And now we can state the error handling. So here we can now state console.error error in API route and passing that error. And we want to return next response.json. And here we're going to say error failed to fetch or generate character details. And here we're going to say status is 500. Cool. And just like that, so let's go ahead and do that. Cool. So just like that, we've created our backend. This is all that is to it. So we're pretty much all done. So that's it. We've just created our backend. So now that we're done with the backend portion, we can start with our front end portion. So for the front end, we actually forgot to download some stuff from Shadcn. So let's head back over to Google Chrome, and we're going to go back to Shadcn. So let's wait for that to load up really quickly. And then we can go to Google and then just go to Shadcn UI. And installation. Let's go over to model toggle. Let's go to toggle, and I believe we forgot to install this. So let's install add toggle, npm, and actually let's see what we have first before we start installing stuff. So components, UI, yeah, we don't have that. So let's go ahead and make sure we're on the right one. Mythology YouTube, CLS, yep. So Claire, and let's paste that in there. So it's going to install that, and you'll see what we use that for in a second. And then we need to install theme provider. So do we have theme already? Let's see. Theming. Let's see. Theme. No. Dark mode. Next.js. There we go. So we need this component slash theme provider .tsx. So we don't use TXX in this application. Like, we don't use TypeScript syntax. So we're gonna have to change this to a JSX. So it's gonna show you how to install all this. So let's install Next themes first. So let's install this. So once we're done installing this, we're gonna have to create a component theme provider.tsx. So we're gonna do that in a second, and then it's gonna tell you to wrap your root layout with theme provider. So we're gonna do all that, and then lastly, we need the drop down menu, and we need to install drop down menu. So let's go ahead and grab that and install that in there. Oh, we actually already have that. So yeah, that's fine. Just override it. It's cool. We can clear out of this. And then what we want to do now is we're going to need to create this. We have to use this import. So we're going to show you how to do that in a second. So we can just go ahead and close out of Shadcn. We don't need this anymore. So like I said, with theme provider, we don't use TSX, we use JSX. So you can go ahead and copy that TSX file and just slap it in ChatGPT and tell it to convert it to JSX for you, and it's just going to do that. So you don't have to really do anything else. So in order to create that component, we can go ahead and say new file within components, and this file is going to be called theme provider. So okay, new file, it's going to be theme provider.jsx. Awesome. And since I already have one created, I'm just going to copy and paste what I have in there right in here. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this, and I'm just going to drag that in here. So let's go ahead and empty our trash. Awesome. So I'm just going to drag in theme provider. So give me 1 second here. Awesome. So I'm just going to put it right in components. So here we have theme provider. As you can see, it's in JSX format, so we don't have to do much more with that. And then next thing we have to do is for mode toggle. So mode toggle also, if you go over to Shadcn, it's going to show you how to do that, but it's also in TSX format, I believe, so you're going to have to convert that also. So you can copy that, paste it into ChatGPT and tell it to convert it for you, and it's going to do the same thing. I'm just going to go ahead and drag mode toggle right in here. So it's going to look as such. It should go into components. There we go. So mode toggle is going to include that drop down menu that I was talking about. So it's going to look like this. So just go ahead and close out of that. So now, there we go. So now, in order to set up that theme provider, we can go straight into layout.js, and within layout.js, we're gonna cover this with the theme provider. So right from the body here, we're just gonna say theme provider, and we're gonna take this, cut it, and place it right in there. So it's gonna have theme provider, and then so if you go back to Shadcn, it's going to tell you how to copy that. So it should look like this. So theme provider should look a little something like this. So like that, and that's copied straight from Shadcn. So rather than open up the browser again, so I just copied and pasted it. So theme provider should have those attributes attached to it, and then that's it. So now we have our theme provider. So let's just make sure it imported here, and it did. So we're good with that. So we're gonna leave layout open for a second, and the first thing we want to do is we want to create our nav bar. So for our nav bar, let's go ahead and open this. So npm run dev. And since it's the front end, we're going to be able to see it side by side. So let's go ahead and minimize this and open this up. And let's see, it should open without any errors. There we go. So currently it's dark because my system is set to dark theme, and we've just put a theme provider around our whole application. So let's split this as well. This is good enough. So with this, let's create our nav bar. So let's go over to components, new file, and we're going to call this navbar.jsx. And here we're just going to state export default function navbar. Awesome. And since we have that, we can now go to layout, and we can place navbar right after theme provider. So we're going to say navbar. Awesome. So if we close out of this now, if we say return h1 here, and we say hello world, why don't we see anything here? Let's say class name is text white. So let's see what's happening here. There we go. I don't know why that didn't work, but yeah, that should say hello world. Let's try hello. There we go. So we just need to refresh it. So here we have this working. So if we say hello world again, there we go. So it works. So it's been properly done. So that's all we needed the layout for. Here we can just have fragments. That's all we needed the layout for, so we can close out a layout like I said. So next thing we want to do now is we want to build out our nav bar. So it's going to be a simple nav bar, so it's not much going on. So what we're going to do is we're going to state, let's use nav, and we're going to say class name here is with full, height is 8 view height. There we go. You're going to say fixed, and you're going to say top is 0, left is 0, right is 0. Let's see if we can wrap this. There we go. Background is going to be black. Flex items is going to be center. We're going to say justify between. And then we're going to say text is going to be white. And pattern X is going to be 2. Z is going to be 50. Font, actually, let's just leave the fonts. Capitalize. Awesome. And we just have to close out of it. So we failed to close that. Let's minimize this. There we go. There we go. So we don't need this anymore. Awesome. So now we have this nav bar looking background here. And then within nav, we're going to say div class name. And the class name is going to be flex. We're going to have it as items center. We're going to have text white. And the pattern is going to be 3. And within this div, we're just going to have an h1. Let's have a link because that's pretty standard. Is equal to backspace here. And then we're going to say h1 class name is going to be font bold. And this is going to have blog. Okay, so link is not defined. So let's go ahead and define that. So link It's going to be the next link. Cool. And now let's do this. So after we have this link defined, we can have another div here, and the class name here is going to be flex items center. We're going to say space x is 4. And then we're going to add our mode toggle here. Let's see. Okay, so here it says Radix React icons. So we don't have React icons installed. So let's go ahead and do this. npm install React icons. So let's see if that works now. npm run dev. And let's refresh this. Let's see if we have it. Okay, so we need to install Redux UI React icons by itself. So it still says module not found. So it still says module not found. Can't resolve at Redux UI / React icons. So what we can do is let's do this clear. So let's install this. So it's going to be npm install at Redux UI / React icons, and then just enter that and clear npm run dev. Awesome. So, yep, there we go. So now it works. So let's go ahead and just, we could just clear this out. Clear npm run dev. Okay, does it automatically? Let's do this. Awesome. So it's compiled, and this is the mode toggle. So as you can see, this is the toggle. Why is it not toggling? There we go. So this is the actual mode toggle. So we have light mode, we have dark, and we have system. So that's practically it. So that's all we need for mode toggle. And then we can now start building other parts of the front end application. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and close out of this. We want to go ahead and let's come over to app. And then we're just going to create a new page. So we're going to say new folder. And this page is going to be called search character. Yeah, it's unoriginal, but we can just use that. And then here we're going to say page.js. And within page.js, we're going to say export default function. And this is going to be search character. We're going to have a return. Let's just use fragments for right now. And then within page.js, we're just going to place that in there. So we're going to say, we don't even need div. Let's just use the fragment. And we're going to say search character. Search. Did we save that? Let's try it again. Search character. Okay, so did we use lower? There we go. So let's say search character here. And let's try it again. There we go. Awesome. So we have search character in here now. So within our home page, so we can close out of this. And then here we can try to see if it works. So we can just say hello world. And it's actually not going to work because div class name here. Geez. Class name with full height. We got to give it a pattern of, well, height full. We got to give it a pattern top of about 8 view height. 8 view height. There we go. So now we can see it. It's because it was covered by the nav bar. So now we have that. So that's, now we can start building out our actual search form and everything. So before we do any of this, let's come up here and we're going to say use client. Awesome. Since it's going to be a client component, let's do some imports really quickly. So we're going to import Axios because we're going to be using Axios. And we have material UI already. So let's just import circular progress. So circular progress. Awesome. And now with search character, let's come down here. We can now start adding our state variables. So we're going to say const search term. This is the term we're searching for. So set search term. And this is going to equal use state. Nope. It should be just use state. So use state. There we go. And this is going to be an empty string. We're going to say const loading. This should be set loading. And it should equal use state. And this should be false. This should be const character. Set character is equal to use state null. And this should be const error set error equal to use state null. Cool. Now we want to handle our search. So we're going to say const handle search is equal to a sync. It's going to take in an event. We're going to say e.prevent default. And now we want to prevent empty searches. So we're going to say if there's no search term dot trim. So we're eliminating white space there. We're just going to return. Awesome. We're going to set loading to true. So initially loading is going to be true. And then we're going to set error to null. So that means if there's any previous errors, we're going to clear that out. We're going to say set character to null. So it clears out any previous results. And then we're going to save that. So now we can have a try catch. So with try, we're going to say const response is equal to await axios.post. And this is going to be /API/character. And we're going to say search should be search term. And here we're just sending search term in the request body. So that's all we're doing here. And now we can state set character is response.data. And we're going to say console. Yeah, that's fine. We don't, as long as it works, we're fine. So if it doesn't work, we can console log it because I'm probably going to forget to take that console log off. So here we can say console.error, error fetching data, well, error fetching character data, error. Awesome. Let's wrap this. And now we can state console.log. Yeah, we already have console.error, so we're fine. That'll be redundant. So here we can say set error. And the error here is going to be failed to fetch character data. And it's going to say, please try again. Cool. And then we want to have finally, and this is going to be for our loading. We're going to say set loading to false. So we want to stop loading here. And then after that, we can go ahead and create a function to clear our data. So it's going to be an X or whatever symbol you want to use to just clear out the whole form. So here we're going to say const handle clear is equal to, it's going to be an arrow function. And we're going to say set search term. And it's going to be an empty string. We're going to say set character is going to be null. We're going to say set error. And this is going to be null. Cool. So that's it. So we've created all our functions now. So now we can head over to return. So we can actually just do this. And we just have to put this parentheses here. and here. Awesome. And let's bring this down one and down one. Cool. So we don't actually need this hello world anymore, as it just served as a placeholder kind of thing. So here we want to say with full, we're going to say min height screen. Min height screen. We're going to have it as flex. We're going to say flex column. Items is going to be center. We're going to have justify start. Dark. So on dark mode, we're going to have the background gray and 900. We're going to have the dark text. So on dark mode, the text is going to be gray 100. We're going to say background is gray 100. Text is gray 900. Cool. And then we're just going to keep it as padding top 8 view height. So we just keep it at that. As you can see, it automatically does that. So we're going to keep it as that. And now we're going to create the search form. So we're going to say another div, class name here. Let's close out of it. And for this class name, we're going to say width is full, height is going to be auto, justify center. We're going to state items is center, and padding X is 4, padding Y is going to be 6. Cool. And within it, we're going to have form, and on submit here is going to be handle search. We're going to state class name is going to be with full, height, max is going to be with large. We're going to have flex. We're going to have flex column. And we're going to say on small, it's going to be flex row. So small is going to be flex row. Items is going to be center. We're going to have on small, it's going to be space X4 and space Y4 here. And we're going to have small space Y is going to be 0, and this is going to be relative. There we go. Awesome. That looks so much better. Now, so on submit, we have handle search, which is going to be this. And remember, we're posting it to /API/character. So we have all that done. Now we can state div is going to be class name, width is going to be full, and it's going to be relative. Input here is going to be type, which is equal to text. We're going to say placeholder is going to be search for a character. Let's close out of it first. There we go. Now we can state class name is going to be flex grow. Width is going to be full. Padding is 3. Text is large. Rounded is medium. Shadow is medium. Border dark is going to be border gray, and this is going to be 700. So as you can see, it already says search for a character ... So now we're just building the form around it. So we're just giving it some class. We're giving it styling, so class styling. So we have 700 for dark border gray 700, and then we're gonna say border is gonna be gray 300. Focus is going to be outline none. Focus is going to be ring 2. Focus is going to be ring blue 500. And we're going to have for the dark, it's going to be background. And this is going to be gray 800. And lastly, we're going to have dark, and this is going to be text gray, and this is going to be 100. And we're just going to have pattern right 12. There we go. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So now we want to state for search terms. So we want to be able to get, actually, we're not done with this. We want to add our value here. And our value is going to be search term. And on change, we want it to be E. And then this is going to be set search term. And this is going to be E.target.value. Cool. So now let's do this. Awesome. So let me see. Maybe you guys can't even see this properly. So let's make the appearance. Let's zoom in a bit. We can bring this down. Let's see if we zoom in once more. That's a little much. So let's bring it down one. Let's zoom out one. There we go. Awesome. So we're done with that portion. Now for search term, we can say if there's a search term, then we want to say button is going to be type button. Class name is going to be absolute. And this is going to be right 3. Top is going to be half. Transform. Translate on the y-axis half. We're going to say background gray is going to be 200. Hover is going to be background gray 300. Dark is going to be background gray 700. Wait, hold up. So background gray 200. Hover. So is there a space between this? That's why. So 700, we're going to say dark hover. And we're going to have a background gray is going to be 900. Actually, let's make it 600. And then text gray is going to be 900. And then we're going to have dark text gray. And this is going to be 100. We have a pattern of 2. We're going to have rounded as full. Shadow is going to be medium. Transition. All. Duration is 200. Ease in and out. And focus is going to be outline, none. Cool. Now we just got to close it up. Awesome. And then there's more. So we have on click is going to be handle clear. And then ARIA label. So let's have an ARIA label. And this is going to be clear search. Cool. So we're going to be using SVG. So I'm just going to copy and paste it. But basically, it's kind of like just copy and paste it. It's just a button. It's a symbol just to clear. You can use an X, but I'm just going to use this SVG icon. So I'm just going to copy and paste that. So mine's going to look like this. So let's go ahead and save that. If we scroll down a bit, let's see if I can do this instead. There we go. So this is what mine looks like. So it's a W3 SVG, and practically it just deletes stuff. That's all it is. So all you need is a function we already have. You can, instead of SVG, you can just use the X button, or you can use whatever icon you want. So after that, now for our div, oh, now we can have a different button actually. So let's just have a different button. And here we're going to say button. And for this button, it's going to be type submit. There we go. And after submit, we're going to have class name here. And I'm just rushing through class name because, this is not really a CSS tutorial. So I'm just going to type it all in. So for class name, we're going to say width is full. Small is going to be width auto. Background is going to be gradient. And this is going to be to the right. We're going to have from blue 500 to blue 700. And we're going to say hover from blue 600. And then we're going to have hover to blue 800. And now we're going to have text white. We're going to have pattern of 6. We're going to have pattern Y of 3. Rounded is going to be medium. Shadow is going to be medium. Font, semi-bold. We're going to have transition all. We're going to have duration is, so let's make sure that transition is all. So semi-bold, semi-bold, transition is all. There we go. Fonts is semi-bold, so fonts is semi-bold. Transition is going to be all. We're going to have duration of 300. Ease in, out. We're going to have focus. It's going to be ring, and it's going to be ring 2. We're going to have focus. It's going to be ring blue 500. Awesome. So now we just have to place in what we want for it. So here we're going to state loading. So if we have loading, we want it to say searching. If it's not loading, so ... If it's not loading, we want it to simply say search. There we go. And that's it. That's it for our form data. So let's do this. So that's it for our form data. And now we want a loading indicator. So the loading indicator is going to be like that circular progress. So what we're going to do is right after this div here, we're going to state loading. So if we have loading, then we're going to state div class name flex justify center items center width is full. Min height is going to be 50 view height. And we're just going to plug in circular progress in here. Cool. And so did we close that div up? No, we did not. So let's come down here and we're just going to close that div up. Cool. Awesome. So now after we do our loading, we want to create our error message as well. So right after this bracket here, we're going to say error. So we want to create our error message. So we say error. If we have error, then we're going to state div class name is going to be text center. And then we're going to have text red is going to be 500. Width is going to be full. Pattern X is going to be 4. Let's close this div out. There we go. And now we can state error. Cool. So let's actually shorten this a bit and pull this out. There we go. Awesome. So now we have the error here. And then after error, we want to now show our character data. So our character data is going to be, if we have character and we don't have loading, so our loading has stopped, then we want to have a div. And div here is going to be class name flex grow, flex, flex grow, flex justify center. We're gonna say items is center. We're gonna say width is full, padding X is 4, padding Y is 8. Awesome. And then we can have div, and then div here is going to be class name, width is full, max width of 5XL. We're going to have flex column, large is going to be flex row, rounded is going to be large, shadow is going to be large, overflow is going to be hidden. And then we have gap, which is going to be 6, large gap of 8. Awesome. So now we want to create our image section. So we're going to say div class name is going to be relative. We're going to have width full. We're going to have large, width half. Height is going to be 64. This is going to be small, height of 96. We're going to say large is going to be height auto. That should be it. Let's give this another div. There we go. And now for the image. So we're going to use next image. And we're going to say the source here is going to be backtick character dot image URL. Cool. The alt is going to be character dot name. We're going to have layout be fill. Object fit is going to be cover. We're going to have priority as true. And then class name here is going to be rounded large. Awesome. So we're done with that portion. Great. So now we want the data section. So for the data section, we're going to come down here and we're going to say div class name is going to be width full, large width is going to be half, padding is going to be 4, small padding of 6, large padding of 8, flex column, background, backdrop, we're going to have it as blur. So blur medium. Background is going to be white. We're going to have dark. Background gray is going to be 800. And text gray is going to be 900. Dark text gray is going to be 100. We're going to have this rounded large. And that's it. So now for our title, we're going to say div class name. We're going to have this sticky. Top is going to be 0. Background gray is going to be 100. Dark background is going to be background gray 900. Z is going to be 10. Padding of 4. And rounded medium. Cool. Awesome. Now we're going to say h1 class name. So let's just close this so we don't forget. So h1 class name is going to be text 2XL. We're going to say small is going to be text 3XL. Font is going to be bold. We're going to use a text blue of 500. Dark text blue 400. Capitalize. And here we're going to have character name. Cool. And then now we want to have a scrollable description. So right after our div, we're going to say div class name is going to be pattern of 4, overflow y is going to be auto, max height is going to be 300 pixels. We want small to be max height of 400 pixels. And prose, dark, prose, invert. Cool. And here we're just going to have p class name, and this is going to be margin top of 4. Here we're going to have character dot description. Cool. And we should have one more div, I believe. So let's see, we have one more div here. There we go. Awesome. So, okay, so that's pushed a little to the right too much. So let's come over to, let's just say transform. Awesome. And then let's see, padding right 12. Let's take that out. Let's see what that looks like. Let's refresh this. Nope. So let's see. Yeah, that shouldn't be like that. So let's see what we did. So flex grow, blah, blah. Oh, it seems that we forgot to place a flex in here. So that's why. There we go. I'm like, what's going on? So there's a flex missing, and that's it. We should be all set. So that's about it. Now we just have to see if this works. So if we state, let's look for Thor. Let's see if that works. So let's find Thor. So as you can see, we have an error here. Let's see if that error, yep, we have an error right there. So that X button, there's a problem with it. So let's see, that should be in our error, not error, that should be in our button here. So what's going on? So let's do this. There we go. So negative translate should be Y. Let's see if that works. Let's go over everything first. Let's see. Let's try it now. So let's say Thor. There we go. That's what we did wrong. So Thor X. So this should be a negative translator minus translate Y half. So that's pretty much it. Now let's just see if this works. So let's see if it works on this kind of screen first. So Thor search. Well, failed to search, failed to fetch character. Please try again. So why is that? Let's see. It has to be a backend error. Let's see. Oh, we did not initialize Prisma client, so we have to run Prisma generate. So that's why. So let's clear this out. So Prisma npm Prisma generate. Is it npx or npm? So let's try npx. There we go. Awesome. So now let's try it again. npm run dev. Cool. Now let's try it again. So Thor, we're going to search it. Let's put this up here. Now we have another error. So public.character does not exist in the current database. Why is that? So let's see our schema, model character. Did we push clear? So let's see. I don't think we pushed to the database. So it should be npm Prisma database push. Npm Prisma. Hold on, let's clear this out. What was the command we used? npx primsa. Oh, primsa. So Prisma database push. There we go. Great. So let's go ahead and clear this. npm run dev. So I forgot we didn't do that when we initialized the backend. So when we initialized Prisma when we were working on the backend. So it says ready. So let's go ahead and search this again. Let's place this up here. And let's see. Come on. Nothing ever works the first time. So let's see. Okay, so I kind of figured this would happen. Just wanted to see if I figured it would happen. I just want to see if it did. So everything works. As you can see, it's 200. The problem is in our, so if we come over here and we go to our next config MJS, you can see we don't have the source within it, within our next config. So it's not going to allow anything from this site. So what we want to do is we want to modify this. So I'm just going to copy and paste mine because I don't want to type out all this. So I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take all this and we're just going to comment it out. And then let's go to like number 10. And then we're going to paste this in there. So what this is doing is it's allowing images from that particular host name. So it's going to let these images get shown. So you can pause it and basically copy this, but we pretty much do this on every project we've done on here that has an image. So it should be second nature if you've been following my catalog. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So it's saved and we can just go ahead and close out of this. And then let's just refresh this and see if it works. So we're going to refresh that. And let's try a different character because Thor technically is already saved. So let's try Hera. So let's search that. Let's put this up here. Why are we getting nothing? Okay, let's npm run dev. Okay, and now let's refresh it. Cool. Now let's try Hera. So what is the problem here? So let's check the front end here. Let's clear this out. Let's say Thor. Oh, okay. Well, Thor works. So let's try Hera now. I don't know why that wasn't working. Okay. That was strange. So it should work because it's taking this long to like load. So that was just pretty strange. There we go. So now we can close out of this. So it does work. I don't know why it was doing that. So let's come back here. As you can see on a smaller one, the image is kind of cut. So let's see if we can fix that. But yippee, it works. So that's great that it works. So let's see, image, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we have large, height. All right, guys. So rather than bore you with how I figured it out, what I ended up doing was rather than have just a large width half, height of 64, blah, blah, what I did was I made it a little bit more responsive. So I added individual heights to it. So I made the height 75 view height for the image div. And then I said rather than height be 96 for small, I said height is now 80 view height. And for large, height is 85 view height. So it changed things. So this is what I had before. So I'm just going to close out of this. I mean, I'm just going to delete that since we don't need that anymore. So here, if we go back and say Hera now, as you can see, that top part is not cut off. If we open it to a larger screen, as you can see, it's still not cut off. It's right there. So with this, like I said, if you guys want me to add more features to this, what I can do is I can add features down here, so we just don't have this extra wasted space over here. We can have like iconography. I think that's what it's called, iconography. I don't remember. But basically we can have icons here that depict Hera, things like that. We can have religion, symbolizations. We can have a bunch of stuff here, or we can have character recommendations. So we can just put like various other characters here that go with Hera. So we can do that. But for the most part, let's see on a simulator. So let's go to mobile view. Let's see if this works. So let's go to like well, let's try it on this first. So let's say Thor. Let's see if this works. There we go. So we have Thor here, and as you can see, the whole thing is shown. Awesome. And then if we, let's try it on a bigger screen. So let's go on a tablet. Let's try it on a Galaxy. And then let's say Hera. There we go. So let's close out of this. Oh, well, let's open it up again. Activating mobile view. Let's go right to S7. And let's say Hera. Let's search that. Awesome. So now if we scroll, as you can see, it's not really cut off. Everything's pretty much there. And you can see the whole thing. So it looks pretty cool if you ask me. So we can close out of this. We can try it in light mode, see if that works. And in light mode, let's try a different character. But as you guys can see, if we say Thor, see how quick it pops up because it's basically in our database. It's super quick. There was an error in the demo I showed you. That is why it did not. That's why it didn't. That's why it didn't show as quickly. There was an error there, but with this one, as you can see, it's lightning fast. It pretty much is super responsive, like immediately. And then if we say Hera, same thing. As you can see, that that image is not. It's not refreshing, or it's not expiring as quickly. Like I said, there was an error in the demo I showed you just when it came to the images all. And then let's try what's another character? Oh, let's say Jason and the Argonauts. So this is going to take a little longer because we've not searched it before. So it's going to populate within our database and then send it right back to us once it gets it. So let's see. I'm also curious to see what image it shows us for this. Oh, that's cool. You never know what you get with DALL-E 3. So just ignore that. Maybe that's the way his name was spelled back in the day. I don't know, but this is it. So to me, it looks pretty cool. So it's a pretty cool application. With this, you guys, let me see if I can quickly fix this. It has to do with just the styling. So I was gonna say you guys can look in my old in my old catalog, but I can fix this really quickly. Let's see if I can do that as quickly as I think I can. So we have to go into our is it mode toggle? Yeah, I believe so. So we have to go into our mode toggle. So the problem actually doesn't stem from mode toggle. It stems from global CSS. As you can see here, we don't have any CSS variables, so there's nothing for it to use as like a color scheme. So what we can do is, let's close out of this. We can close out of this too, so we don't edit anything. We can open this up, and we can go straight back to Google and Shadcn UI. So this probably isn't even a problem for you guys. It's more for me. So Next.js, let's go ahead and reinitialize this. So let's try this. So remove components.json. And okay, let's see if we can just get the CSS variables. So, okay, You know what? We can do that. So let's go to components.json. There we go. And we can just delete this. Worst case scenario, we just put it back in there. So let's try this again. So like I said, you guys probably don't have this problem. So we want New York style, we want zinc. Yes, we want the theme in. And that's it. So let's clear out of it. Let me just close out of this. We can refresh this. It should give us an error. There we go. Let's run it first. npm run dev. Okay, let's close out of this. And let's see if this works now. So let's refresh this. And voila, there we go. So that's all we had to do. So you guys probably didn't even have that problem. So light, dark, system, light, dark, system. So I'm just going to keep it as system. So for search for a character, what we're going to say is, let's try Hera again. Awesome. So in light mode, still looks pretty good. So yeah, that's practically it. So yeah, so let's try. So let's go to system. Let's try. What's a good Roman one? Let's go with Mercury. I believe that's Hermes. So Mercury. I don't know why I can't spell Mercury. And let's see. So it should take a couple of seconds. So I believe that's Hermes in Greek mythology. Come on. There we go. It works. Awesome. Oh, Mercury's Poseidon? Oh, it's Hermes. Yeah, that's what I thought. Because I saw the trident. You know what? It's the images. I don't know. So typically he uses that, I can't remember what it's called, the one for the medical symbol. That's what I thought it was, but whatever. But yeah, so as you can see, it does that. So now if we go back and we say Mercury again, Mercury, it's lightning fast. There we go. So because it's coming right from our database, and here it looks amazing. So even in light mode, so if we go to light mode, it still looks pretty damn cool. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you guys enjoyed this, let me know. So if you guys enjoyed this, let me know. I can go ahead and add more features to it. Just let me know in the comment section if that's what you want. Let's try to get this video to at least like 50 likes. That would be amazing. So like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm really trying to get to 500 subscribers. The goal is 1,000 subscribers at this point, but just by Christmas time or by the end of the year, let's try and get to 500 subscribers. Small victories. So I can't do that without you guys' help. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Go ahead and share the video also. Let's engage with the project and down in the comment section. So let's engage with this if we can. So with all that said, one more time, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoy the project, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.